Hi, I'm Kim Raifsnider with GMAC Real Estate Premier Network, and I have with me the famous George Dillman, who is the owner of the former Mohammad Ali Training Camp, which is now called the Butterfly and Bee Bed and Breakfast. And he's going to tell you a little bit about his property that he has acquired about 10 years ago and just the history of it.
I got involved in this property from day one with Muhammad Ali. I got training Muhammad Ali. I met him in 1967. March 28th at the sports banquet up in New York City, and we talked about working out together because at that time I was a karate champion, he was a boxing champion. I was also in the military, and I was stationed in Washington, D.C. It was one of those things that was meant to be. 1972, he came to Reading, Pennsylvania. I was teaching karate full-time. I had moved to Reading, Pennsylvania, and I walked into a restaurant, we're eating, and all of a sudden Muhammad Ali walks in. It was a restaurant, even though it's in my city, I only went to once or twice a year. And in walks Muhammad Ali, so it was meant to be. He said, "You still want to train together?" I said, "Yes, I do." He said, I'm here to train in this area. He's going to train up here in Deer Lake, Pennsylvania. Started to train down there in the woods in an outdoor gymnasium. It started to rain real bad. He said, "I need to build a gymnasium." He said, "I can't work out outdoors when I'm training for the heavyweight championship of the world and have my fighting stop because of the weather." So we came walking up on this hill. It was Larry Holmes was there, Muhammad Ali, myself, and a couple of his entourage type people. We drove up on this hill in Jeeps. There was nothing here except woods. Muhammad Ali walked back right through this path and said, "Right here, perfect spot to build a gymnasium." I was a little naive at that time about that, and I'm looking around and I'm going, "A gymnasium? You can hardly walk here." But he had contractors come in, excavate, because this entire mountain is loaded with rock. The entire mountain is rock, shale, and the contractors tell me there's crystal quartz inlaid in the rock. That's why the energy burst up here.
Oh, wow.
And he built a gymnasium here. It's 3,000 square foot. They asked what building did he live in. He built what we use as a kitchen building for his home. He lived in that, and he had trailers up on the hill that the sparring partners would come stay in the trailers, but they hung out in his cabin, and he said, "I can't have that. If I have to take a nap, I can't have people keeping me awake and staying up keeping me up." So he built the thick log home for his house and turned the kitchen into a kitchen. Then up on the hill, he built a bunkhouse for the boxers. He built the next house for Bundini Brown and Angelo Dundee. That's why that's a two-bedroom home with a living room, dining room, and kitchen. The first day I met Angelo Dundee, and Bundini Brown was in that cabin. He sent me up to meet him. He said, "They're here." So I went up, knocked on the door, and Bundini Brown came, opened the door, and Angelo came out of the bedroom, and we're sitting around talking. Ali then built the chalet, actually to bring his family, so he could bring his family to be here with him while he trained, his children, his wife, Belinda. And then he started to build the log cabin at the top of the hill, a ranch house, because his father had cancer and was dying, and he brought his family, his mother and father, to live here so they wouldn't have to climb the hill, and he moved his family up on the hill. It was his father that sat around and painted all these rocks with the famous names. And by the way, since I've owned the camp, I've had college kids come in that are professional, they know what they're doing, and they UV treated all the rocks for the next 25 to 50 years, they told me. They cleaned them up and they're UV treated. You scrub them up a little bit and they look like new. And then he started to build the cabins for his entourage, and that's how the cabins happened. Each of the people in his entourage wanted their own cabin so they could bring their family. All of the log cabins are of hardwood. Today they build log cabins out of pine. Pine needs painted, it needs coated every year. All of the cabins in the entire camp are made of oak and ash, and they are hardwood. Hardwood does not get insect problems. Hardwood lasts for hundreds of years. I was in a log home traveling just recently out through the Midwest, and they took me to a log cabin that was over 100 years old. I knocked on it and tested it, and sure enough, it was built exactly like these cabins. And they were that was a 100-year-old cabin, and it was hardwood.
And you also did all the cabins in commercial flooring and
Yes, commercial grade carpeting.
The bedding.
I tore out all the insulation in all the cabins because they smelled musty. They were 25 years old. Insulation has improved to a higher retention grade. We had all the insulation taken out. We had brand new top-of-the-line insulation put in, all new ceiling tile, all new commercial flooring. If it's linoleum, it's commercial, and the indoor-outdoor carpeting is actually the same stuff that's in the Lebanon Valley Mall. I got involved when they were doing the mall, and it's a high-grade commercial made-for-traffic flooring, so it'll be there a long time. And we had all new furnishings and bunk beds in all the cabins, but there's also a piece of original Ali furniture in the different cabins. I took his furnishings and put some of his piece of each in each of the cabins to give it that feeling, that warm feeling. I was involved in this camp from the day we come up here. I watched every log go in place, and I actually love this camp. You know, I'm in love with it. I've been up here. I trained with Ali for 3.5 years. I did road work with him, bag work with him, and I sparred with him for a good 3.5 years, and I worked with him and worked out with him during all of his comeback fights. The two against Joe Frazier, George Foreman. In fact, I could show you a picture. It's on our color brochure. I'm the one that convinced him to fight Joe Frazier for the second time, and there was witnesses to that matter. He was not going to fight Joe Frazier because of the soreness and the beating from the first time, and I'm the one that got him right over here in this road when it was a dirt road, and convinced him that he had the ability, and together we're going to do it, and he's going to win, and he did.
So you've been involved with the camp for over 35 years then?
Yes.
A long time.
Oh, yeah. 1972.
Tell us about the different groups that come and rent your facility.
We've had 5 weddings here. We've had several family reunions, including the Yingling family that has the Yingling Brewery near here. They rented the camp for an entire week for a family reunion. Said it's the best place they've had for a family reunion because they could all gather by the fireplace.
That's an amazing place.
And they could all do cookouts. They used the kitchen, they cooked out, but yet they had their own individual quarters to go away and be alone with their family. And they just loved it, so they rented it for a week. And Dick Yingling brought in his family from Missouri, from Texas, Louisiana, and around this area. And they all come in and used all the cabins.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there was also girls soccer teams that come in?
We have a girls soccer team that was coming in twice a year for about 7 years in a row because they were competing against the high schools in this area. And this was a better place to put them because it was out in the woods, and they could have karaoke. We had karaoke for them on the deck, and they could party, and yet they felt like they were camping, but yet they had good facilities.
It's amazing. It's an amazing place. There's a tour online. You need to check out the tour. It can be utilized for a whole bunch of different functions. So be sure to check out the tour and give us a call. Thank you, George, for your time.
Thank you, thank you.